Soon after, the body of another of Tom's ex-girlfriends is found.
Yeah.
Because this is what happens.
Sure.
When you get alcoholic and get busted down to River Cop, all the people you slept with start getting dumped in the river.
That's right.
River Cop. Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the boys of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Showing.
Ooh, that's a classic right there. And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Share.
Yeah. I was shaking my
sexy.
chest.
Talk about swing.
Like I've got what are they called? Nipple tassels.
Yeah.
Right.
Things.
Like when Dustin Hoffman takes Catherine Ross to that show, and the girl pulls off, and it's got the little tassels.
Yeah,
I've got nipples so big that I don't need tassels.
Yeah,
you just swing them around.
Yeah.
That's not true. That's not true. Nobody take that seriously, please. It's going to be in Wikipedia. Scott has long ass nipples.
We're loose today, baby.
But enough of this frivolity. What are you guys angry about?
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
I'm as mad as hell!
You've never seen me very upset.
Lord Jesus! Lord Jesus!
I got to talk about this motherfucker. The number one problem with all of civilization, as far as I'm concerned, I've said this before, is selfishness. And you see it on display in a lot of different ways. Most road rage boils down to one or two people being selfish or entitled. So my wife and I have a local spot. I think everybody has their favorite local basic Chinese takeout spot. You're not getting 5-star quality food, but you're not expecting that. In fact, sometimes I call it the let's go dirty and let's go to this place and get the Chinese food. And I don't really mean it dirty as much as I mean like MSG and grease and all the good shit you like Chinese takeout for. So we had a complicated order. So instead of ordering by phone, we decided to walk in and order, and there's Publix nearby, and we'll go shop while they prepare it. So we parked and we're walking up. And as we're walking up, we parked in the parking lot. This is one of those grocery store shopping centers where there's, a haircut place and a dentist. And
There's
a pizza
always
place
one of those.
and a Mexican
Yeah.
place. Right. This motherfucker in a big ass truck, and I guarantee he never hauls anything worth having a truck this big, pulls up in the street in front of the stores and parks his truck, and turns off the engine right there as we are walking by. We were even unsure if he was going to stop for a second, whether we should walk. But we get to the door 25 paces ahead of this guy. I'm a nice guy. My wife walks in ahead. I hold the door. This guy comes in behind. So it's my wife and I and this guy. And there's one worker. I know this place very well. I've only ever seen one person. I know there's someone in the kitchen that makes food, but I've only ever seen this lady that takes your order and takes your money. And she comes out of the back, and this dude behind my wife and I goes, "You got a takeout order for Carter?" And she goes, "Yeah." And she goes and gets his food, and he goes around us to get handed his food. And then he goes out to his truck, parked illegally, and drives away. And then we get to order.
No.
Now listen.
No.
If there were two people behind the counter, maybe you yell at one, "Hey, I'm here for my takeout. I'm too special to wait in line." But if there's only one person, there's only one line. And I have some other caveats here. A, it does not take long to order Chinese food.
Yeah.
Right? I said we had a complicated order. That's because we wanted 4 things instead of 2 or 3.
Right.
And so he could have waited a minute and a half. The second thing is Chinese food never gets cold. Like you could take that shit, put it in your car, drive for a half an hour, set it on the counter, spend 15 minutes picking out a DVD, pop it in, and that shit is still piping hot when you open it.
Yes, it is. Yep.
Chinese food stays hot forever. He saved himself nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm trying very hard as I get older to be a little more understanding of people when I see them behave in public in ways that I don't think are cool, because I don't know what kind of a day they're having, right? So if I see someone who's maybe a little mouthy to a cashier because the price was higher than it, I don't anymore think definite asshole 100% all the way. Because for all I know, they just got in a car accident and they're extra stressed, or maybe they're having a panic attack. I try to be understanding, but when you give me so many examples of your selfish entitlement, I don't feel like I have to be very understanding of this guy. When he parked where he parked, that one I might have let go, right? That's a selfish thing to do. I don't know the guy, but then when he walks into the store and does the same version of the truck with the food, now I know this is a me first guy. And this is not a guy I need any part of, and he can fuck the hell right off. I bet he's not even fucking vaccinated.
This guy, this is not my kind of guy.
It's interesting. I was so glad that you came up with the caveats, because I was about to be like, okay. Because if you had ended the story there before you got to the whole one person behind the counter and all this other stuff, I was going to be like, well, Hattie B's is a place where I order takeout all the time because I hate standing in that fucking line that's outside every time. And I order the takeout because I have, in theory, already waited in line for my food because I've waited 25 to 30 minutes for it. So
right.
I go in and they have extra people to take care of that takeout because they have a register person and then they have some other person that's roving around.
Right.
And they're usually like, hey, okay, you're here for your takeout, huh? Okay. But like, yeah, in the case where you're like the only person there and there's not very many people around and all that, you can wait a little bit for your takeout for sure.
Yeah.
There's
and
no
it's
doubt
also
about it.
like, you're talking about Hattie B's, which is like a lot of places in Nashville, almost always going to have a line, right? You can go to any Nashville favorite place and there's going to be a long ass line. And this is not that. This is, if you see another customer in this place, you're surprised. Like
Strip
it's a
mall
Chinese takeout place,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know exactly the kind of place I'm talking about. And again, I'm a small man in many ways, but specifically in physical stature. I am weak. I'm not going to get in the face of a guy who drives a truck like that because I can make other assumptions about that guy based on that truck.
They have ammo storage on that truck.
Yeah, and so I just don't be that guy. People park in a regular parking spot. If you're disabled, use the disabled parking spot, and just don't cut the line because you're special. God, I fucking hate that shit.
You know, the other thing about this story that kills me is you don't really have to order a takeout at a Chinese restaurant like that either. You don't have to order the food like ahead of time at a place like that because
right.
If you've been to any Chinese food place and you order food, I mean, before you even sit down, they're putting the food in front of you.
Yeah, so, it's very fast.
So, like, I don't understand the like call ahead thing mentality either. So, anyway.
Yeah, no, I just hate it. I hate it. Selfish people go away.
I'm going to continue along this line, and I could have made this rant probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. In fact, it was funny. Aaron and Danae and Jonathan were all here when I noticed this at my house. I was, and this is along with Jeremy's rant from last week too. So I had just gotten back from Arkansas, and it was a 3-day trip. Actually it wasn't even 3 days. It was like it was like 2 days total tops or whatever over the weekend. And I was sitting there and Danae and Aaron and Jonathan were doing their behind the scenes podcast in this room. And I was looking outside because I often do, because I let the cats out and I want to see if they're up to something every once in a while. And I noticed that I have this way of knowing if my trash can is right out. Now I've ranted about trash can stuff before on here. I have a way of knowing if the trash can is right outside the fence or not. And it's unusual if it's not there. If I don't see the pattern that I can see, And especially when I was just gone over the weekend and the trash people had not come to pick up anything over the last few days. So for it to be in a different place than it was is unusual. It wasn't there at all. I went outside the gate and it wasn't there. No trash can. Nobody from next door had taken it, assuming it was their own. There was, anything like that. I look across the alleyway, see a trash can, looks suspiciously like mine in front of somebody else's house. I don't have
suspiciously like my trash can.
Go fuck yourself, Barrett. I know exactly what my trash can looks like. It has certain wear on it that I know what it is. And I was in front of this other house and I was like, motherfucker, these people are going to make me actually go over to this house and take a look and see if this is my fucking trash or not. Go in there and I see like 5 or 6 of their bags, other people's trash on top of what is clearly my fucking trash in this trash bag, in this trash can. And I'm like, okay, so you're saying maybe your trash can got stolen. Why are you coming over to my place and stealing a fucking trash can when you can simply call a fucking number and get a trash can the next day if you want it? Why are you stealing my shit? Why does that get in anybody's head that they're like, oh, look at this trash. Is this community trash or something? What is the fucking deal? And so like, and this thing's so full too that I can't possibly put another bag in there if I wanted to at this point. So I'm like, all right, I know for a fact this is my goddamn trash can that these people right across the alleyway decided to take. I wheeled it back and actually pulled it behind my fence and blocked it up in the out inside the gate and everything, so that it still looked like I had no trash can. And that's essentially the rant, but it does have an epilogue to it because I saw this woman come home and I could see the car coming into the garage, and the car stopped for a second. And then it went into the garage, and then this woman comes out and starts looking, and I swear to God, didn't even look in my house's direction. It was weird. Like, if you stole that trash can, for a fact you did, but you didn't even look in my spot and looked all around the street and everything for this trash can that she fucking stole, or he or her husband. Or her husband stole. I don't know. Maybe her husband stole it first. I don't know. But I have a feeling she stole it because
she was complicit.
I have a feeling she stole it because guess what she did? Not like an hour later, went over to her connected neighbor's house
and stole their
trash can.
No,
son of a fucking bitch.
She reoffended.
All you have to do is call a fucking number. And
all right, at this point, you should go to Lowe's and buy 35 of these trash cans, and at 2 a.m, go out there and leave them all over her driveway.
And be like,
you want a fucking trash can?
Record her response the next day. That would be
glorious. Oh, that would be sweet, wouldn't it? Somehow, some way, I'm quiet enough to put 35 trash cans outside somebody's house. Nobody sees it. I mean, maybe put 2 or 3 somewhere else, just so they'll be like, why is there 2 or 3 somewhere else?
It'd be the ultimate, like, here, asshole, have all the trash cans you want.
What, you want trash cans? Here you go.
Oh, man.
All right, I'll keep my rant fairly simple.
Go for it.
As we record this on Tuesday, the June 15th, new interview from Kevin Hart in the London Times, the UK Times, whatever it is, has him talking about cancel culture.
Ah, yes.
Well, he is an expert.
Guys, I'm going to say it once and for all. Cancel culture does not fucking exist. You guys can suck a fucking dick, okay? There are consequences to actions. There are times that you'll miss out on a job. There are times where you'll get fired from a job. There are times where opportunities will not be afforded to you because of something you've done in the past. Cancel culture does not exist. That is all.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all. Okay. I heard Joe Rogan, maybe a perfectly nice guy. I don't listen to his podcast.
Another expert.
Yeah.
That was talking to, I don't know, one of his guests, and he was like, "Man, it's hard out there to be a comedian. Like, you can't say what you want to say, and it's hard to be like a straight white male these days. We're getting canceled, dude. No, you're wrong. I had one of my best friends in the universe say, in all honesty, to me about a year or so ago, that it's hard being a white male these days." I love this guy, but I was like, fuck you. No, it's not. You are fucking insane. Get over yourself, especially white men. Get over yourself. Cancel culture does not exist.
I wish somebody would tell me this so that I could ask them what it is that they can't do anymore.
Right.
That is, I think I know who you're talking about. And this person has very well to do. Not very well, but he doesn't, it's not like he's scraping by here.
Yeah.
It's not like that he would be denied anything that he really wanted to set his heart on or anything like that. It's all about what you can say and what you can think. And a lot of times these things that you're wanting to say are, don't have any sensitivity to it, man. You don't have any.
Yeah. And I shouldn't have compared that to what Kevin Hart said, because obviously he's African-American, but it's this whole concept of cancel culture. Oh, I can't say what I meant to say. I can't say what I really want to say. You know what? Think about what you say then. There's consequences to this. And even if you are canceled, I mean, Kevin Hart has a new movie coming out on Netflix. He has a new special coming out like later on this year. How's he canceled? How's he canceled?
You have to be. Here's the thing. You could have done some of the worst shit in the world, like Mel Gibson, and still have a fucking career afterwards.
Yep.
Kevin Spacey. I'm hearing rumblings of Kevin Spacey coming back.
Mm-hmm.
All these people that we've said are canceled and who had maybe a 2 or 3 year space of not being able to do anything because their name was so toxic, still able to do the things that they want to do, and were already wealthy beforehand anyway. And a lot of the people who we consider canceled have different avenues to go and spread whatever word that they want to. They have everything in the world that they can. Everybody who claims I can't say anything writes books, gets on all sorts of media. I mean, they can get on Twitter if they want to. Even if they get Twitter canceled, they can still go on, a number of shows that will have them to talk their nonsense.
Is Donald Trump canceled because he got kicked off of Twitter? No. No. Harvey Weinstein, he's canceled, but he did criminal shit.
Well, yeah,
same thing, man. No, there's consequences. They're not cancel culture.
Yeah.
It's also, it's just, obviously it's being used by a lot of people as a shield, as a deflection tactic to defray any having to apologize or take responsibility for one's actions. But, this kind of thing has been going on long before Twitter. And it's just this, I was talking with Aaron about this when we were golfing. I hope he doesn't mind me sharing a little bit about this, but it seems like many in social media, especially on the right, have sort of taken what the church used to do, which is sort of this legalistic, control-based, actions-based, right? Like, we're going to control you by shaming you if you don't act the way you're supposed to act. And now it's grown from the church into this whole political thing. And I quipped to Dicer, maybe the church can just go back to loving people now. But it's just, I don't know. I feel like there are correct times when people are called to task for bad actions, and then I feel like there are insincere attempts to create that kind of thing over small actions, like the James Gunn stuff. I think would qualify there. It's just there's no room for nuance. We need more nuance. Because we have to be able to examine each case one at a time. And like I look at the Chrissy Teigen thing, and I'm like, we really did cancel James Gunn for about 6 months. He got fired, lost his job, then he got hired by DC, and about a year later he got hired back at Marvel. And he made some really tasteless jokes, but Chrissy Teigen was like bullying a teenager and telling her to die and take a dirt nap. Now, that doesn't mean Chrissy Teigen should never work again, but should she be called to task for that? Yes. Did I think her second apology yesterday was very well written? Yes. Did I think that means she should just be forgiven immediately tomorrow? No. But the celebrity culture is full of people who've gotten away with far worse than that. I personally still struggle with Chris Brown, just because there are. He did far worse than some people who are struggling to get work, and he's not struggling to get work or get nominated for. We just don't apply the standards fairly. We don't have any. There's no structure. It's just this murky, nebulous thing that everyone is defining every time, or micro-defining every time they add their 2 cents to it in public discussion. But you're right. There is no such thing as cancel culture. There's just consequences for actions. And what I wanted to say before I rambled for 5 minutes was that culture evolves. We've talked plenty of times on this show about language evolving and how literally can now mean literally or not literally. Or what's the word we were debating the other day that both means you're shocked and you're nonplussed. Yeah. Yeah, literally defined as both its opposite and its original definition. Things evolve. So I think it's okay to look back at The Simpsons and say maybe Apu wasn't a very sensitive character. And, Hank Azaria sure seems to regret it. And at the same time, not cancel Hank Azaria or The Simpsons for having done in the late 80s, early 90s, what no one at the time was taking offense to. Or at least no one in the mainstream was taking
nobody
offense
who had a voice to say anything.
That's exactly right. You're right.
Yeah.
I'm glad you made that face, because you're exactly right. There probably were people offended by it then, but the culture wasn't calling them to task for it as a whole. Yeah. The American culture.
Right.
So it's murky.
That's sort of how I've begun to frame it whenever we talk about, how nobody said anything, nobody was offended and blah, blah, blah. Is that there were people who were offended. They just weren't on TV and they weren't or if they were silenced.
Well, it's the same with, you're right. It's the same with Friends, where, you have to cringe when you watch Friends as often as I do, because there's some not so subtle, non-gay friendly jokes.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there were people offended at the time. It's just that the culture, the media perhaps, wasn't calling them. So in many ways, social media is great because it gives a voice to these people who never had a voice to point something out before and say, hey, that's offensive. You can't do that. But that doesn't mean they're canceling somebody.
Right. It just means a small subset of the population are deciding to cancel you, and or deciding not to watch whatever you do anymore or whatever. Cat Williams was on some sort of radio show. It was on Twitter recently, where he said to the effect that basically you just need to start learning how to be more funny without having to do offensive jokes.
Yes, I saw that, and it could not have put it more perfectly.
Yeah, Cat Williams I've always loved his stand-up. He's really, he's one of the most energetic comics I've ever seen in my life. He doesn't stop for laughter or anything. He just keeps going and going and going. And I wasn't shocked to see that he was on this side of it, because we've had a lot of people come out, who have have worked in this area of being offensive, and a lot of times incisively offensive. In Dave Chappelle's case, I understand, but Dave Chappelle is smart enough to know how to navigate this, I believe.
Yeah,
where he doesn't have to worry about that or whatever. But who knows? I mean, maybe not. Maybe sometimes as society evolves, maybe you don't have the capability of doing that anymore.
Look, dude. All right, I don't want to take up the whole thing on this, but like Dave Chappelle made some questionable comments in his act about transgendered people. Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Was he canceled? No. Kevin Hart made homophobic jokes a long time ago. He was slated to host the Oscars in 2019. Those things came to light. Somebody, probably did it intentionally because he got that gig. He lost that gig. Is Kevin Hart canceled though?
Well, didn't he quit that gig too? He quit it, didn't he?
I think he quit it before he could be let.
Yeah. You can't fire me. I quit. But like, let's take it down a notch, guys. You are not being canceled. Even and Jeremy, I know you didn't mean it like this, but James Gunn wasn't canceled. He just lost a job because of some shitty comments he made, and now he's gotten that job back. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, I am so sick of the bitching from people that feel like they can't say anything. You know what? We say a lot of crazy shit on this show. All right.
Mm-hmm.
But we think about it. We take care to make sure that we don't overstep a boundary and offend people unnecessarily. If we offend in the name of comedy, that's one thing. But if we offend personally, that is out of bounds for us.
Well, I don't know. You're talking. I mean, offending in comedy is about the same thing. It's as offending personally, right? Like that's.
I just think the word offending is misused there. I think his point was.
I got you. Fair. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But we're just an outrage. We're addicted to outrage. That's who we are. And whether it's the latest stupid move your favorite sports team made, or the latest celebrity misspeak, we're always constantly on the lookout, like a goddamn shark looking for blood. Where's the next thing I can pounce on?
Yeah, to make me look
not
good
healthy.
too.
Not healthy.
Let's go to recommends and warns then.
Totes Amazeballs.
They're great.
It won the Academy Award.
Oh, for what?
For best movie ever made.
Oh, man. Listen, I'm going to start you out in the hole so we can climb out.
Okay.
The other night I made a passing reference to the Bruce Willis movie Striking Distance.
Yeah, you did.
Yes.
This was because I had recently seen this movie. And I've thought about giving you the Jeremy rundown. I'm definitely going to spoil this movie, so tune out for the next 10 minutes if you want to.
If you don't want Striking Distance,
if you want to save this masterpiece for yourself, and so I go to the Wikipedia and I'm reading the plot description, and I really think it says it better than I can.
Okay.
At least in places. It's not super long, so bear with me. It's set in Pittsburgh. I'm going to give you the first paragraph in my words. Tom. Oh, by the way, Bruce Willis plays a character who's named Tom Hardy. That is the best thing about this movie. He turns on his partner because his partner used excessive force, and he tattled on him. And then they're on the heels of the Polish Hill Strangler, he and another dude, and they crash into his car, and they go down the hill, and the Strangler's gone, and the other dude is dead. And then his partner that he turned in jumps off a bridge to kill himself. So the movie goes 2 years later. This is like 20 minutes of shit. And it goes 2 years later, an alcoholic Tom, this is Bruce Willis, has been reassigned to the River Rescue Squad. This is basically McNulty from The Wire before The Wire was on. So he's been busted down to the boat squad. Called to the scene of a body dump, Tom finds the victim is an ex-girlfriend. Dun, dun, dun. Like, what are the fucking odds? He is assigned a new partner, Joe, who he finds out, I'm not reading this verbatim, who he finds out is a lady because they did that whole 90s thing where he's like, oh, my new partner's name is Joe. Is he any good?
Oh, yeah.
What's he like? And the lady's like, not what you'd expect, because it's a woman. And it's not Sarah Michelle Gellar. Sarah Jessica Parker. And
that would be awesome, though.
So she's a diver, and he's the boat driver. And I guess Pittsburgh has 3 rivers, so there must be a lot of river shit going on. They probably do need some river. I'm surprised every boat needs its own diver, but what have you. After a nurse is abducted, Tom receives a phone call similar to the ones left by the Strangler. That was 2 years prior. Detective Eddie Eiler, who hates Tom for turning in Jimmy, states on TV the murder was committed by a copycat. Oh, God. Okay, so Tom breaks into the police office and steals the Strangler file from the precinct in order to conduct an unauthorized investigation because he still thinks the Strangler person was a cop. Soon after, the body of another of Tom's ex-girlfriends is found.
Yeah.
Because this is what happens. When you get alcoholic and get busted down to River Cop, all the people you slept with start getting dumped in the river.
That's right.
River Cop.
So I'm jumping over huge sections. There's a ball, a dance. He goes with Joe, his partner. There's a fight there.
How long is this entry?
It's really not. It's like 6 paragraphs, but they're long.
Striking distance.
So anyway, they go back to his houseboat. He lives on a houseboat. That's charming. The River Cop lives on a houseboat. And they engage in a heated confrontation as Joe pours Tom's whiskey down the sink in an attempt to prevent him from drinking.
Yeah.
This is the creepy part. Tom pleads for her to leave, but is shocked when she refuses and declares that she will spend the night. Though initially hesitant, Tom eventually succumbs to Joe and they have sex.
Yeah.
You reverse those genders, that's problematic. At one point during the lovemaking, Joe gazes at Tom in amazement as he lies on top of her, both unaware that they are being watched by someone outside. Dun, dun, dun.
She gazes in the middle of it. She gazes upon him in amazement.
Now I'm going to skip to the end and tell you that the killer, all along, both the new copycat and the original Strangler killer, are Jimmy, the partner cop who jumped off the bridge and killed himself 2 years ago and didn't actually die. Because this script was written by an 8th grader. There is nothing redeemable here.
I don't remember anything about this movie at all. Like the River Cop thing, that's about all I remember about it. God damn it. How in the world did that movie get made?
It's bad, kids, and it's got a lot of people in it. I just closed the tab, but like Dennis Farina's in it, Tom Sizemore is in it,
of course.
Timothy Busfield.
This was that
John Mahoney, Andre Brower.
This was this pre-Shyamalan period for Bruce Willis, post Tarantino, pre-Shyamalan, where we started to get a sense of what Bruce Willis movies were like if they didn't have a decent director or anything like that. You had The Jackal came out during this time, and you had Striking Distance.
Was this 95?
I believe Striking
93.
Distance was Striking Distance 93?
It's according to
Holy fuck. Well, then
Wikipedia.
I was wrong. I'm wrong then. That
it's
movie
still
came
right
out
around there, though.
That came out before Pulp Fiction, though.
Yeah.
So, oh well. But yeah, I mean, it's a hint of what we were going to see of Bruce Willis outside of a Die Hard or a good director.
With all of my exes are washing up dead, and the Strangler storyline and the suicide. I really feel like it was one of those things where they took 3 scripts and slapped them into one movie and tried to make it all fit. But it's really not good. I would stay away.
Yeah. I'm going to stay in the 90s, and
nice.
Yeah.
I rewatched a movie that I knew I loved because we were interviewing Rennie Harlan, The Long Kiss Goodnight.
Yeah.
Got a rewatch.
That's some good shit.
It's Shane Black is a big star on this one as well. His script has a lot of those Shane Blacky lines. where he's like, there's a the point where Samuel L. Jackson comes in and busts down the door of this dude who's having sex with a prostitute, and he's like, now you know what makes what you do when you make assumptions, right? You make an ass out of you and umption. There's a scene where Geena Davis is talking to Alan North in a car, and he keeps saying a whole bunch of like real suggestive things, like, you know, like asking how her sex life is with her husband and everything, and he goes, and she turns to him and is like, you know, like, could you, anytime you say something, could you start blowing bubbles up in the air and say hiccup out loud? And it's got that great also part where Samuel Jackson saves Geena Davis and says something about, you know, this ain't no ham on rye. And she goes, why did it take you so long to get here? It's like, mostly because I was trying to come up with that ham on rye line. But the movie is about a woman who is a school teacher, who is happily married, but has amnesia for the last 8 years. And she gets in a car wreck. This is with the Alan North in the vehicle. And an interesting thing about that car wreck too, they never refer to it ever again. Like she runs off the road, Alan North's dead, she kills a deer, and then like just goes back and is like, well, I don't know, I guess something's kind of weird with me now, and whatever. This is like left a car that she definitely has all of her like information and everything with, and killed a person and just left the scene. But when she comes back, she knows that something's different about her. She's starting to learn some things or whatever. And she starts cutting up carrots like really super fast and everything. And she's like, oh, I was a chef, I used to do this and everything. And then somebody comes to kill her. Somebody right out of prison comes to kill her, and then she takes care of business. And then Samuel Jackson promises that he'll take her to wherever she needs to go to sort of learn her past and everything. And of course, she was a fucking super spy assassin person,
and blonde.
Yes, at some point when she's trying to make it where people can't easily identify her, she gets into this this blonde number or whatever, and Geena Davis is very sexy. But yeah, Rennie Harlan is who is is a delight to talk to. I just sit there and you watch the sort of the glee he does. He has making movies. Now, not all these movies are going to be the greatest things you've ever seen in your life, but you can see that behind the camera is somebody who really loved making that movie. So, The Long Kiss Goodnight is definitely one of his all-time best. He's done Die Hard 2 and he's done Cliffhanger and stuff like that, but because of the Shane Black script and everything, it's really at the top of his list, probably. Even Samuel L. Jackson was talking to Stephen Colbert the other day and said,
I saw that
this was his number one movie on his list.
Oh, is that right?
5. It's at least in his top 5. Yeah.
Well,
all of his top 5 were in the 90s.
Yeah. Well, this movie inspired Rennie to cast him in Deep Blue Sea and have one of the craziest cinematic moments in history. So because of Long Kiss Goodnight. So this, it's a nexus of beautifulness.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But go out and check that movie. That movie came out in 1996.
Nexus.
Yeah, Nexus. But it's a movie that I think sort of gets forgotten a little bit because when it came out,
I think Craig Bierko's good in it.
Oh, Craig Bierko's awesome in this movie. I was sitting there watching it going, oh my God, why wasn't he a bigger actor? Like, I was starting to remember 13th Floor and stuff like that. And he was in Cinderella Man, but like he never took off.
No,
Fear
but he's
Loathing
great.
in Las Vegas
Cox.
for a second.
Yeah. What were you going to say?
Brian Cox.
Oh yeah, Brian Cox playing the preborn.
Has that great line about that I always fuck up about. I submit that whatever that dog is trying to lick out of its ass is either already gone or there to stay.
Oh my God. That's the Shane Blackiest line to ever Shane Black.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm gonna step out of the 90s and bring us right into 2021. 2021. Watched.
That's now.
That's now. I watched Bo Burnham's Inside. On Netflix recently. This is a special that he filmed during the pandemic. I think he's out in California, so it was lockdown, like a literal lockdown. I shouldn't say literal lockdown. It was, people were encouraged to stay in place, shelter in place. He did everything from my understanding. Like he wrote this, he wrote the songs, he performed the songs, he edited this, he filmed this, and it all takes place in one kind of rec room, bonus room that has, a bunch of, production equipment, keyboards and lights and cameras and action and stuff like that. And this special defies categorization, I think. It is frequently funny. It is occasionally harrowing. Mm-hmm. The music in it, which I'm not really a huge fan of, like, musical comedians. Like, that's just not my jam. Like, if somebody brings a guitar out on stage, I'm like, all right. I feel like it's just kind of a crutch. But to be honest, I haven't explored a whole lot of Bo Burnham's stuff. These are hilarious. Like, I would listen to these songs. I would classify them as kind of like a depressed Weird Al. And I don't mean that pejoratively. Like, it's got the brilliance of a Weird Al, whilst still doing kind of parodic kind of lyrics and everything, especially the songs about Jeff Bezos, which I think are hilarious. And I love his voice, and I love kind of like his whole thing. This is a strong recommend for me. I joked around a little bit on Slack when I watched it, or after I watched it. I said, this is the best thing that I'll never watch again. Because it does get into some stuff. He doesn't handle the pandemic as well as some people have. And there are times where he kind of breaks down. But it's all in the, I shouldn't say this, but it's all in the service of a great special. I think the first song he sings is about content. And I think he had in the back of his mind that, yes, I'm going through a rough time. And of course, he's been honest about his mental health previously. But I think he knew in the back of his mind that this was going to be great content too. And it is a singular special. You will probably never see anything like this again. Hopefully you won't. But it's a huge recommend. Chris, have you watched this yet?
I've seen 20 minutes of it. I have not been able to sit and watch the rest yet, but the first 20 minutes that I saw were very, very good.
Yeah, it is very, very unique. I would highly recommend it. You may not want to watch it again. I joked around about not wanting to watch it again, but I will go back and watch at least some of the songs because they are entertaining as hell. There's one song called All Eyes on Me, which is one of the best songs, parody or not, that I've heard probably this year. It's fantastic, and it's filmed beautifully too. So I would recommend checking it out.
All right, everybody, it's time to talk about movie. I tell you what, man. There's such a large selection of movies sometimes on this service that I'm just like, how did I miss that sometimes? I'm just like, wow. And I was going through there the other day and I found Dementia 13, which is Francis Ford Coppola's first movie, I believe. His directorial debut, although if you look at the IMDb, he's got a few credits before that, but I'm sure they're all like student films or something like that. Dementia 13 is a movie he did under the Roger Corman studio, I believe, and I read something in the trivia of this movie that said something to the effect that Roger Corman was making his own movie and then said, hey, Francis, if you want to use this exact same set that I'm doing on this movie and use some of the same actors that are in my movie, and you're able to shoot it around my movie, you can do this movie. And that's what they did.
All right.
Wow.
Francis Ford Coppola is going by Francis Coppola in Dementia 13, and it's about this woman who I think she kills her husband. I'm not sure. Her husband has like a heart attack, but then she pushes him over into the water. And there was this discussion about how his mom is giving away all her money to charity. And that's not right. They should get some of that money that she has.
Yeah,
so,
fuck charity.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck charity. And so she writes up a note and sends it out, and it pretends to be her husband, saying that I can't come to this function that's going on at your house because I got business in New York. But my wife will be able to attend or whatever. So this woman who has maybe kind of killed her husband goes out to London and meets the family. And there's this ceremony that they're about to do for a daughter, like a sibling who drowned like 6 years previous. And there's not really much to this movie. It's probably a precursor or considered one of the first slashers that I can tell.
Really?
Because people start getting killed by a mystery, killer, and it's kind of like a whodunit, but it's also got it's a little more gruesome than you're used to in the 60s, maybe. Not like terribly graphic, but you do see a head rolling at some point.
Wow.
Yes.
Heads will roll.
Yeah.
Is that
exactly.
one of Roger Corman's props?
It's probably one of Roger Corman's props. It's probably something Roger Corman shot and they just put it in the movie. This is not indicative of the Coppola that we're going to see later on in his career. Although it is extremely interesting to watch where one of your all-time directors came from, and there's certain shots in here that are very beautiful. Like, it's not, like I said, there's not much to this movie, but there's some points in it where you're like, okay, I can see a little shades of the Coppola we're gonna see, but it's not like it's not the sum of its parts doesn't come to like something that we would know him for, but. That is on the service right now, and that's one of those things that I love about Mubi is a lot of times they get these directorial debuts that are on there, and you get to see how some of these big directors started. A lot of times you don't have any access to these kind of movies, so I really found it fascinating to watch it.
I agree with you that Mubi is where I saw Damien Chazelle's first film, Guy and Madeline on a Park Bench, and you could see little glimpses of what he would come to be, later on in Whiplash or La La Land and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mubi, curates all this stuff. So there is a lot of selection, but it's not like, the other streaming platforms where there is no direction to it. They're just putting it up there. This is curated. I don't remember what subcategory I saw this in, but I watched an incredibly horny movie, French movie, on Mubi called Betty Blue.
Mm-hmm.
Also titled in en français, 37 le matin, which means 37 degrees in the morning. Celsius, which means anyway, this movie is not just horny. It is very horny. But it was also nominated for an Oscar for Best Foreign Language Film in 1986 and for a BAFTA. Mm-hmm. And it's really good, man. It's about this writer who's making ends meet by doing repairs out in this beach town in France. He meets this woman, Betty, who's young and, quote, tempestuous. And God, they fuck all the time. They fuck so much. And God bless them. You know, I mean, they're both, you know, strong like bull.
Yeah.
They both should be pounding it out. But the story is really good. He's a writer, and you know, he has this unpublished manuscript that Betty comes around and ends up, you know, kind of retyping and putting it out to publishers and stuff like that. And their relationship is very compelling. The actress Beatrice Dahl, this was apparently her debut, but she is gorgeous and she acts beautifully in this. The guy Jean Hughes Anglade is fantastic. Don't you like my French pronunciation?
Yes.
This is absolutely worth watching, getting the service for Betty Blue. It is promiscuous and it is a delight to watch, and it has some twists and turns. I would say even lobster-esque. If you're a fan of Yorgos Lanthimos, I think you would like this movie. It's all on Mubi. Here's what you do, listener. Listen, come in close. Come in close, listener.
I'm in there. Go.
Okay. Go to Mubi.
It's too quiet.
No. Shh. Go to Mubi.com, MUBI.com/Cinemasins. 30 days free. 30 days.
30
free.
30 free. Free 30.
But you have to go to that URL, people. Don't mess around and just be like, oh, I'm going to go to Mubi. No, Mubi.com/Cinemasins. That's your month free. And you're welcome because it's awesome. And you should totally do it. Watch the movies that Chris and I recommended and many more on Mubi.com/Cinemasins.
All right. Do we have any another round that we want to do here?
I would love to do another round. I would
right.
also love to run to the bathroom real quick if you guys are amenable.
I will do the same.
So can I give you a hard warn now? Can I give you a record warn?
Do it.
What if I told you it's a 2019 movie? It's the 1930s Dust Bowl, drought-ridden Texas, and Margot Robbie is playing a hot bank robber on the run.
Of course she is.
Would that be something that would interest you?
Yes, would that be something that interests you?
Well, it was something that interested me, and I would say at the end of it, I was largely whelmed. Perfectly whelmed. I did not have a bad time. I did not have a great time. She basically, this town is so tiny, she's hiding out in this barn. And this teenager who I never caught his age, and the movie kind of dances around it, but I guess he's 18. Let's just say that for the sake of like the FBI. He and his buddy are going to look for her because they want to get the reward. But what he doesn't know is she's in his barn. Dun, dun, dun. He finds her, and she's bloody
from inside the barn.
She's bloody because she got shot during the bank robbery. And he tends to her wounds and falls for her, right, as you do. And she basically agrees to help her find a car. And she says, if you help me get a car, we're going to go to Mexico, and I'll give you $20,000. And he's like, immediately like, well, yes, of course, I will do this. Just so happens his dad is a cop. Stepdad is a cop. Not so good. And he this kid breaks into the police office. This is the second movie in a row where one of my main characters breaks into the evidence room. I can't believe that because that happened in striking distance. He breaks into the evidence. He breaks into the evidence room at the police station to basically steal a piece of evidence that makes her look bad. Of course, the cops find out the evidence room has been tampered with. They blame the stepdad cop. They think he gave the key to his son. He comes home to beat the shit out of his stepson, and the stepson and the hot bank robber girl hop in the family truck and go on the lam. And they go to a hotel and she invites him to shower with her.
Yeah, she does.
Yes, Barrett. Yes,
Really?
Chris.
Yeah.
Yes. But first she calls him kid, and he says, there you go, calling me kid again.
Mm-hmm.
And then she says something else, and he's like, fuck it, I'm going to get in there. And they start making out in the shower.
Mm-hmm.
And then
He says, fuck it, I'm going to get in.
the stepdad catches up to him like the next day or so and shoots her dead. Boom. I spoiled it. I shouldn't have done that. I didn't mean to. I usually do that with the Warrens, not the Wrecker Warrens. She lives. I lied. She lives. There's a sequel coming.
What is the name of this movie?
I didn't even say the name of the movie. The movie is called Dreamland.
No, you said the name.
I did?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's called Dreamland.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's kind of a warn. It's not really worth your time, but it's not so bad that I want to warn it. I didn't have a terrible time watching it. And you may not love it, but it was interesting character.
2019?
2019.
I don't know
nobody
if I've
else
heard about this.
Yeah, nobody else. Garrett Hedlund's in it, but nobody else that I've ever heard of is involved with this production. My guess is Margot Robbie was attacked, and that brought in the financing to make it. And she's good. She's fine. She's always good. Anyway, I feel like it could have been more exciting.
All right. So I watched a movie that I did not expect to like whatsoever. I guess this is going to let the cat out of the bag that it's not that a big deal, but that we are going to be sending this movie. But I did not personally write anything for this one. It's the Croods, A New Age.
Oh.
Actually,
I too have seen this.
Actually enjoyed this movie. I can't explain. I didn't even see the first Croods.
Did you not?
No, I haven't seen the first
funny.
Croods.
That's funny.
I watched this one, and I was. It sometimes the Barrett rule works, right? Where there's so many people in the movie, and they all sort of like give their flavor to the movie. There's a moment. There's a moment that's so Emma Stone in this, and Emma Stone is so charming. There's a point where they find like this animal of some sort, like a cat or a wolf or something. I can't remember, and they ride it, and she and the other character voiced by what's her name, Kelly Marie Tran, I believe.
Yes, yeah, that's her.
Get on this thing and start riding it around and everything. And he goes, and she always keeps finding these little things where it's like, hey, you see that thing over there? You want to jump it? And then see that thing over there? Want to jump it? And it's such an Emma Stone thing. And meanwhile, you've got Ryan Reynolds in this voicing the male love interest that shows up in this movie as one of the main characters of this new movie. Nicolas Cage, of course, always funny. Peter Dinklage plays a character in this. Leslie Mann plays a character in this. Yep. Catherine Keener, and everybody sort of creates this environment that is it's like actually pretty fun overall. That I wasn't expecting. I thought this was going to be stupid, and it is stupid in many places. Don't get me wrong. You can't make a comedy like this without it being stupid in a lot of places. But I actually kind of like the story to it too. Like just the fact that the Ryan Reynolds character is looking for this whatever tomorrow is, and they run into this couple now. All the modern anachronism stuff gets really annoying after a while, but they still seem to kind of manage to make it, fun anyway. But they run into this couple that Peter Dinklage and Leslie Mann are playing, and they have this sort of like this almost, I guess, San Francisco lifestyle where it's like a super rich, whatever super rich was back in the prehistoric age or just getting out of the prehistoric age. This huge ass tree that functions as a mansion, pretty much, and they're very hippie-ish, and and everything. But they have this issue with, they have to keep bananas around. Nobody can eat the bananas because of this one thing that happens in the movie. But overall, man, I was not expecting to be like, I kind of like this movie. Sometimes when in this job that we do, you watch movies for stupid reasons, like either you're writing a script for it or you're watching it just to kind of know what's going on when you review somebody else's script. And you're like, oh, this is going to be such a slog. This is going to be so bad. And maybe it's the expectations thing. Maybe the expectations in the end led me to go, well, this is not that bad, but it's got a 7.0 on the IMDb. So apparently it was liked by a few people overall. Anyway, there you go.
All right.
And look, I normally wouldn't resort to a movie like The Croods: A New Age as one of my recommends or warns, but god damn it, I watch so many movies for so many other different reasons. I don't ever have like an enjoyment movie out there. So,
You know what's funny is that this is kind of like a Horrible Bosses 2 situation, because I think if you enjoyed this, I think you would enjoy the first one. The first one I thought was a lot of fun. Matter of fact, the second one opens on footage from the first one, like a Rocky movie. But I enjoyed this too. I like the first one. The animation is really, really good.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage as a caveman is always enjoyable. Emma Stone and Ryan Reynolds getting together, even though it's usually Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling getting together.
Right.
It's a delight. I agree with you. And I think you'd like the first one. All right, I'll wrap us up here, and it'll be a quick one, because it's Top Chef. You know that we like Top Chef. You know that Jeremy and I love Top Chef. Okay,
it's
but
top.
I have to say that this season, which they're doing in Portland, in which they filmed over the pandemic, both of my recommendations are pandemic related. I think is really a triumph of a lot of things. They stayed in a bubble while still trying to get the best content that they could, which is, of course, food-based. They have maybe one of the most likable group of chefs that I've seen in a long time. The hosts are former Top Chef contestants like Brooke Williamson and Gregory and Edward Lee and Kwame and all that stuff. But this is just, it's delightful. And I have to shout out the most recent episode as of this recording was hella emotional. Jeremy, did you see the most recent episode?
Yeah.
So they always do this thing where the family either contacts the contestants or they send like a gift box or something like that, or they show up. And in this one, they sent the gift boxes and like, handwritten letters about how proud of them they were and all that stuff. Between that and what happened at the end of the episode, I bawled my fucking eyes out during this episode. Did you have a similar reaction, Jeremy?
I didn't bawl, but what I liked, what got me was at the end where the one girl tried to take the loss for the other girl, and then that girl was like, no, let me take the loss. And it was kind of like Hawkeye and Natasha at the cliff of Red Skull was like, no, well, let me, which I thought was very touching. And I do think they have an overabundance of good personalities this year. Casting is always the key on a show like this. But the thing that I am enjoying that I hope they do in future seasons is this rotating guest judge panel where every they brought in about 14 to 16 former contestants. Barrett rattled off a few names of them, and they all eat these dishes in most of these competitions, and then two of them sit on the judging panel with Tom and Padma and help decide, who's going to stay or who's going to go. And so it adds a lot of insight because these people have been here before. They understand these pressures. It's interesting.
Richard Blaze is in there too. Yeah.
To see their opinions as judges, and both, some of them are softer and some of them are harsher. And I hope they keep doing that in the future. But yeah, it's been a fantastic season. I'm sad that
agree.
it's so close to being over.
I mean, there are times where it has gotten gimmicky in the past. I remember Anna Faris and Chris Pratt were on there one time, and like Chris Pratt was the guest judge. I'm like, I'm sure he eats, and I'm sure he's got a good palate, but like, do I really want him judging my food competition? And they did have a little stunt casting, which was hilarious. Fred Armisen and Carrie Brownstein from Portlandia was on there. But that was just very quick fire. Anyway, I've said too much. You know we love Top Chef, but I cannot recommend this season in particular any harder.
Mm-hmm.
Hard.
Jeremy warned striking distance. God, that was a surprise. I thought he was going to give a winning review of that. But he
River
didn't.
Cop.
That's right.
They should have
They should have just called it River Cop, right? Yeah. He warned Dreamland. Margot Robbie is a hot robber. Margot Robber.
Margot Hot Robber.
Mm-hmm, that's right.
I love
Barrett recommended Bo Burnham's Inside, which is on Netflix, and recommended the new season of Top Chef because that's what we fucking do around here, guys. We recommend cooking shows to you people.
Mm-hmm.
And now I recommended The Long Kiss Goodnight. The Rennie Harlan movie with Geena Davis and Craig Bierko and Samuel L. fucking Jackson. And I also recommended The Croods, A New Age. I was not expecting that.
There's so many people.
There's so many people.
There's so many people in it.
And this time it's true. All right, everybody, it's time to talk about BetterHelp.
BetterHelp. Help before the help.
BetterHelp.
You guys need this. Look, everybody's dealing with something. You've heard us talk about it before, but this is online counseling services from the comfort of your own home. You log on, you get into your counseling room. You have your own counseling room where you schedule everything. You message your counselor. You get, updates and attachments and stuff like that. You do that all from your home, your phone, your tablet. All the counselors are licensed and professional, and you get matched to them within 24 hours. I got to tell you, without naming any names, we had a listener contact us, just a couple of days ago, saying that even after all of these spots that we've done for BetterHelp, he or she finally decided to sign up for it. And man, that will make my entire year. If one person hears this that needs counseling for stress, anxiety, worry, depression, sadness, anything like that, I am going to be a happy man. And I think all three of us will be happy.
Listen, understanding why you do some of the things you do and are the way you are can help change those things, right? I'm going to give you a really basic example. Marriage counseling, right? My wife and I are very open that in the first couple of years of our marriage, we didn't communicate very well at all. So we went to just a basic run of like 8 marriage counseling sessions, changed our lives because ultimately everything we were doing in communication, my tendency is to get loud, to get aggressive and argue. And her tendency is to crawl into a shell and not say anything. And all of that is just both of us feeling insecure that the other one is trying to pull away from us. And once we sort of figured out that that's why we were doing those things, we stopped doing those things. And when it comes to greater issues beyond just, early marriage communication, but anxiety, depression, PTSD, therapy does that for you. It helps you understand why some of the things are the way they are. And that's the first step to being able to change them.
And it's the best. You'll feel so much better once you get through the root causes of these things and you change that behavior. Go to BetterHelp, HELP.com/SinCast. 10% off your first month. That first month is critical. Use it well. BetterHelp.com/SinCast. Don't wait. Just do it now.
Do we have some questions we want to do?
Question. I got something to say. I want the truth.
I'm listening.
Chris, we have some questions.
Shit. Oh my God. I'm not prepared for that then.
Son of a bitch.
Hey, yeah, we do.
Shit.
All right. No, all right. I think I can do this. Yeah.
All right. Everybody ready? Here we go.
Mhm.
Ready. First question. What is your favorite intentionally over-the-top acting performance? I love this.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Julianne Moore in Magnolia. There is, most of her scenes are in this pharmacy in Magnolia, where she's trying to get some drugs, and she's obviously addicted, and is obviously trying to get, I guess she probably doesn't have proper prescriptions or anything like that. She's trying to get it, but her mannerisms are such that the people behind the desk are a little bit worried that's exactly what she's doing. But she has a lot of great scenes in that pharmacy. When they ask her if about whether she's got proper prescriptions, she's like, you go back in the back, you go and look at my background, you check, you blah 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 blah. It's like, and she's like, and she just constantly in this state of like mania almost. There's another scene where she's in the lawyer's office and talking about how she doesn't want Jason Robards, who she's married to. She doesn't want his money at all. She's cheated on him and everything. She doesn't want the will to she doesn't want the will to be legal or whatever, and she's trying to talk the lawyer into it and everything. And but there are a lot. There's so many times that the way she talks and the way she acts in this. There's a point where she tells the dude to suck my dick and all this other type of stuff that goes on in there. It is one of she even, I think, at one point refers to herself being over the top. And I'm so over the top right now, and I'm wondering if Paul Thomas Anderson, that was Julianne Moore saying that, and Paul Thomas Anderson keeping it in, because it would be something that somebody like her would be saying in these moments. That is as over the top as you'll ever see Julianne Moore, for sure. It gets to the point of it's so uncomfortable how over the top she is, but it works perfectly for that movie.
It's funny because I was thinking about her performance in The Big Lebowski as being over the top.
That is over the top. You're right.
But you're right. Magnolia is a whole different thing, and I bet you're onto something with Paul Thomas Anderson leaving some stuff in there, because in Boogie Nights, the William H. Macy line where he's like, "My wife's out there with an ass in her cock."
Yeah.
And he left that in.
Yeah.
So I would not be surprised yet.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with Wesley Snipes as Simon Phoenix in the classic Demolition Man.
Yes.
He is dialed up to 11 in that movie.
He was.
Possibly dialed up to 12 even. Even though the dial stops at 11. He just, everything about, he's doing a lot of laughs and accentuating like mouth noises in between his like lines, where he'll like, ha ha, like do stuff like that. And he's a psychopath. He's playing a man that in the beginning of the movie, in our present day, blows up a building with a busload of people in it. The movie, I'm not sure, ever explains if he killed the people first or if they died during the explosion, but the corpses are there. He's just a psycho. Like, there's at one point they're trying to dig up other people that are imprisoned in this ice prison. The whole premise is that they take the really bad criminals and they freeze them because the future's going to need them, I guess. I don't know. And So he's like, who else can we unfreeze? And he's just like, Jeffrey Dahmer. I love that guy. So he's way, way over the top. But that's part of what makes it work. And it plays against Stallone's performance in this movie perfectly. And they trade stupid 90s macho barbs as they have a shootout in the gun museum. God, I love this movie. I could fuck it.
Yeah, it's funny. I had recently heard of some like trouble on that set when they made that movie.
Oh yeah,
and I think even Sandra Bullock ended up replacing somebody in.
Interesting.
That Joel Silver wasn't the best of people, and as a ridiculously famous producer from this era, I'm not shocked whatsoever anymore. And just because I'm not shocked doesn't mean that if he did something really fucking terrible doesn't mean he doesn't need to be called out on it. But yeah, I heard that was a tough one. A lot of people had a bad time making that movie, which is so weird because when you watch it, it just is so fucking insane and joyful watching.
Yeah.
How in the world did they pull out something good? Like, I say good, but there's people who are going to watch this and think that movie's terrible. But it's just one of those things, right? It's got enough in it. It's not boring whatsoever.
No, that whole movie's dialed up to 11 or 12. I mean, even, Dennis Leary doing his Dennis Leary stuff. That was the peak of that, where you're like, oh, all right, do your thing. And he does that thing. The villain is dialed up to, the ultimate villain is dialed up to 11. I do love that movie. Who directed that movie?
Oh, I just saw his name.
Marco Brambilla, I think is his name.
It's right behind you.
Marco Brambilla.
Nice. Did he ever do anything else?
I really don't know.
Jeez, what a weird.
He did Demolition Man. Oh, fuck me. He did Excess Baggage.
Yeah,
that's what happened. No,
is that the Alicia Silverstone?
Benicio del Toro.
And
there's stupid shit in that movie too. I mean, that movie's horrible, but it's got some fun nonsense in it as well. He went on to do like a few episodes of this series called Dinotopia. And then he did Kanye West featuring Dwele, Power. He did the music video for that.
That music video is amazing.
And he did a couple of other shorts, and the last thing he did was in 2012.
Interesting.
So.
That's my power. Okay, my favorite over-the-top performance. You're thinking, viewer or listener, right? You were thinking I was going to pick Al Pacino in The Devil's Advocate.
I even was. Yeah.
I wanted to. But I was thinking outside the box a little bit. And we used to talk about this movie a lot, but I don't think we've talked about it recently. The Cable Guy.
Oh, yeah.
An absolute gem from the mid to late 90s. And Jim Carrey, talk about being dialed up to as past the dial as you can get. Every line, every single line that he delivers from the first time he gets in there, where like, maybe I shouldn't have come at all, jerk off. Oh my God. And that sets the tone. It's amazing how, so Ben Stiller shot this, or directed this. It's amazing all the little decisions that he makes in this, all the different framing options, all the different angles and everything. When Matthew Broderick asked him to get free cable, and he's like, what you've done, I can't even get the line out. What you've done is illegal, and it could get you up to like 3 years in a maximum security facility. And it's this close-up shot, a rear shot, the coverage on Jim Carrey, and then a close-up on Matthew Broderick. And then it cuts to a wide shot of the two of them, and he's just like, I got you. Oh my God. It's so absurdly, beautifully 90s and over the top. And Ace Ventura is probably what he's known for, is being way over the top, but Cable Guy is an underrated gem and will be for the history of mankind.
It always will be. I mean, that even I didn't really like it that much when I first watched it.
I didn't either. I saw it in the theater too.
Yeah, I saw it in the theater, of course, and then like later on, you just start noticing things that are like just awesome in it all the way through. And yes, it's not there. I don't know. It wasn't the Jim Carrey comedy that we were used to back then, but that part, God, that dream sequence. Talk about the over the top, I just want to hang out. No big deal.
The future is now. I mean, look, I can rattle them off. The medieval times sequence, which I sang a little bit of last episode.
Yep.
The karaoke performance. I mean, just the beatdown of Owen Wilson in the bathroom.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched this movie,
salt peanuts.
Skin up, body up. I mean, it's just it's so good. If you haven't watched that movie until now, watch that movie.
Yeah. I would full on recommend The Cable Guy these days.
Absolutely.
Is that Ben Stiller's best film? Director?
Tropic Thunder, I think.
Tropic Thunder's up.
Tropic Thunder's better over. I don't know. Close.
Yeah, they're right
close.
Up next to each other.
I don't think he's made one that I don't like though. I even like that Walter Matthau remake. God fucking hell. Walter Mitty. It's not Walter Matthau, it's Walter Mitty.
Yes, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, yes.
Did he direct
like that one?
Did he direct Reality Bites?
He did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, and
that's sure. There's one more in there, right?
No, you're thinking about Marco Blandini.
Yes, you're right. You're right. Blandini. Hit me.
He did Zoolander.
Yeah. He's good. He's got a good
and
eye.
Zoolander too.
Yeah, Zoolander 2. Finally found a Ben Stiller directed movie I don't like.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, now that we found a movie that we don't like from Ben Stiller, we can say goodbye to the show. No, just kidding.
Yeah, here's the next one. I'm going to skip around a little bit. What's the best F-bomb in cinema history?
Well, that's gonna be tough, obviously, but I can come up with 3 that I loved in the past. In Scream 2, when Randy's on the phone with the killer, and the killer is like, "You'll never be the hero, and you'll never get the girl," and all that and everything, and Randy's like, "Fuck you!" And then in Friday, one of the all-time best ones is Chris Tucker in that shot from below, and he's like, "It looks like you got knocked the fuck out."
And he does, man. Tiny Lister just takes his ass down, and he just crawls right on top of him. "You got knocked the fuck out!" And he does that little head thing.
That little head spin thing as he says it. And then here's one where it's not a loud one. It's not an abrupt one or anything, but in Hard 8, Philip Baker Hall is the ultimate gentleman. He's a hood. He's a gangster, but he commands respect. He demands respect. He doesn't say one swear word in this whole movie. When John C. Reilly says a swear word, he's like, just you don't have to talk like that. Basically, is what it comes down to. And so, he wants everybody to be like gentlemen. But then there's a point in the movie where something happens where the camera trains on Philip Baker Hall and it kind of zooms in on him, and he goes, "Well, this is one fucked up situation." And and it's the first swear he has said the entire movie. And it's all the more powerful because of it. So if I were to grade F-bombs, that's one of my all-time favorite ones.
Nice.
I have a few as well. I just saw Wesley Snipes in Demolition Man. That was my previous list, but he does drop some F-bombs.
Yeah.
One of my favorite all time is Jerry Maguire when he's talking to the little kid. And the little kid says, "Let's go to the zoo. Let's go right now. We should go to the zoo." And he just loses that a little bit of patience. He's a little buzzed, I think, too. And he's like, you know what, Ray? The fucking zoo's closed. And there's this pause, and it's classic. And the kid goes, "You said fuck." And it's such a good moment. Another one I like from a recent movie is Samara Weaving at the end of Ready or Not.
Oh, nice.
When all the magic stuff happens that everybody the whole movie thought was bullshit. And then, like, the ghost appears that everyone thought was bullshit and then disappears in a cloud of flame. And she's standing there in this bloody burned gown. And she just goes, "Fuck." And it's just the perfect casual summary of everything she's just seen.
I got to watch Ready or Not again because it reminded me of that ending, which is very spontaneous-esque. You know what I mean?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it the first time I watched it. So I'm going to have to revisit that. You know, when I tried to think about like PG-13 F-bombs because those seem to have the most weight because you can only get away with, one or two of them. And so, my first inkling was X-Men First Class where Charles and Eric go to hunt down Logan Wolverine. And then he's like, "Hey, Logan." And he's like, "Go fuck yourself." And that's it.
He goes, they introduce, "I'm Eric Lyncher and I'm blah, blah, blah." And he goes, "Go fuck yourself." But he doesn't even look. He doesn't even turn to look. He's just that disinterested. Go fuck yourself.
I love it. But one of my favorites, it's so innocuous. One of my favorites, what popped in my head immediately was Samir in Office Space. And Office Space has a lot of colorful language in it. But when they find out that their scam has gone awry and there's too much money in the account and all that stuff, and Ron Livingston and Michael Bolton and Samir are riding in the car, and Samir's in the back kind of poking his head through, and he's, because English is not his first language, he gets up and he's like, "This is a fuck."
I tell you what, though,
I love it.
My favorite F-bomb in Office Space, though, is when is PC load letter. What the fuck does that mean? That's my favorite part. Michael Bolton.
Yeah, and then of course, you could throw in the classic comedy stuff like Ron Burgundy saying, "Go fuck yourself, San Diego," or Bruce Almighty, or "Back to you, fuckers."
Oh yeah, those are all fantastic. Yeah,
I like it when you can really, lean into those F-bombs.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Hey guys, saw this question being passed around on Twitter, and I figured that you might have some interesting answers. Who was a character that had roughly 15 minutes or less in a film, but had a huge impact on it? This was all over the place on Twitter about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that.
Yeah, it was a couple, 3 weeks ago. But I don't think any of us answered this because it's the easy answer. But Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs is like the all-time. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure on Twitter that's what ended up trending because of that other trend was Hannibal Lecter. Yeah. But there are, of course, a few others here. Viola Davis in Doubt has, I believe, less than 15 minutes in that film, and her character obviously has a lot of impact in that
dynamite scene. My God.
Alec Baldwin and Glengarry Glen Ross playing Blake is which is so funny because as we've always have to mention is he wasn't in the original play, and they threw that in there for the movie. But everything he says in there is the embodiment of the Mitch and Murray philosophy. And it's why these salesmen are doing the things that they do in the movie. And then the Wicked Witch of the West in Wizard of Oz. I looked this up. I looked this one up because it's amazing that she doesn't have that much screen time, but everything that goes on in that movie is because they're, because of what she does to try to curtail the mission in Wizard of Oz. So those are the ones that came up with.
I just had an idea for a future podcast segment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cast the roles of famous movies off-screen characters. Cast Mitch and Murray from Glengarry Glen Ross. They're never on screen.
I like that.
Like Paul
completely.
Sorvino jumps to mind. He has to be one of those two guys. Anyway, that could be a segment, and I think we should pin that.
Hell yeah, I'm all about that.
Let's go with the Oracle first in The Matrix. Who really only has the one scene. And she tells Morpheus, as you find out later, exactly what he needs to hear in that scene. It just so happens she tells him a thing that fools the audience for a little bit further, too, or at least attempts to. And, man, does that have an impact? That one scene, now she's in the other two movies, but just that one scene impacts the whole trilogy massively. It completely directs Neo's path in life. And I also wrote down Kevin Costner in Molly's Game.
Oh yeah.
He's only there in a couple flashbacks, and then that killer scene in the cold on the park bench at the end. But so much of, I don't know how many times you guys have seen this movie, but so much a part of how Molly behaves, at least as portrayed by the movie, is informed by this father, this character, how he raised her, what he instilled in her as a kid. That whole, I was, premier athlete in my sport, and I was always the third best athlete in my house growing up because my two older brothers were better. So he looms large over that whole movie, even though if you count it all up, I would bet he's in less than 15 minutes.
Yeah, I would think so. I've seen that movie, not surprisingly, 5 or 6 times probably, maybe even more considering how many times I've had it in the background.
It's Sorkin dialogue is so easy to just put on and listen to like music.
Yeah, well, especially that Idris Elba scene where he's in there in the deposition of the room, talking about, this is not a RICO case and all that, like that big huge speech he has where he's just up and down telling these lawyers like this is a bullshit fucking case and it. And I love it.
Remind me what happened with the Oracle. So the actress that played her in the first movie died after that came out.
She died. She died during the shooting. They filmed the second two movies at the same time,
right,
back to back, and she died after shooting her scenes for the second movie, and they replaced her in the third movie.
Okay, so she's
an actress.
Original actress is in the second one.
Yes,
okay.
She has that scene on the park on the park bench before Neo fights 1,000 Agent Smiths.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the third movie is where the other actress comes in. And I think they did about as good a job as you can trying to explain why she looked different when you have a tragedy like that. But that first actress was such an embodiment of that role. She was so good.
What was her excuse? I know. I remember that line where she's like, "Yeah, I know, I look different." How did she explain that?
The architect got mad at her, and this was her punishment. That he fucked with her code, something along those lines.
He fucked with my code. Okay, so for my
code.
For my characters that have little screen time but have big impact, I'm going to go with the Apostle Jonathan James Kendrick from A Few Good Men, Kiefer Sutherland. He's got very little screen time, but he is talking about the embodiment of the unit core god country type of Marine. He flat out lies on the stand, and yet he abides by. I have 2 books by my bedside. The Code of Conduct and the King James Bible.
Yeah,
and yet he lies his ass off. And there's one spot where like he looks over at Harold while Kevin Bacon is questioning him. And he's like, "Did you order the code red?" And he doesn't answer for a second. And then he's like, "No, I did not." And he looms not as large as, Jessup or Jack Nicholson's character. But, man, I mean, he is the epitome of that lifestyle, I think.
Let's break that down for a second, because I think you could argue that he's where everything breaks. It's obviously Jack Nicholson's fault for ordering the code red, but it's Kendrick that enables it, that puts it into action, that goes around behind the order. He gives the order not to, goes around behind that to give the order to do it quietly. He's where it breaks, right?
You're right, but the way the movie explains it is that he has no choice, right? That's the dilemma. An order from the colonel is just as good as an order from God, right? There's no way that Kendrick cannot follow that order, right?
Right, but once he's given two diametrically opposed commands, he's broken the King James Bible, the other book that he cares so much about. And he should know it.
No, he's a hypocrite.
Whereas you could argue Jack Nicholson's character did not break the Bible code, just broke the Army code, because code reds are outlawed. So they're both kind of maybe equally. But I've always felt like Kendrick was this linchpin that made it all happen. And without him,
I mean, it would
have fallen apart way sooner.
No, Jessup is a pussy, man. He didn't even order it himself. He made Kendrick order it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then plus, I mean, Jessup, I don't think they think of code reds as a big deal, because it's not supposed to end in the death of the person by the end of it, right. Which is the big dilemma of who's responsible for what in that movie, because they go too far.
They do, and code reds are not against the code of conduct. It was a memo sent down by the Secretary of Defense. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's what he says is, I followed it as per the thing, but yet I still encourage it as a standard practice. Mm-hmm. So there's so much like moral weirdness in that, that movie that I love. And I really think Kendrick is, you're right, the linchpin of the whole thing, because otherwise, like, as soon as they discover that's the key to their entire case.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So a couple more. Paul Reiser in Whiplash, I think, looms very large in that movie, even though it's all about J.K. Simmons and Miles Teller. The relationship that Paul Reiser has with his son is so unique, and I think that's the only thing tethering Miles Teller's character to reality. Otherwise,
and that's another gone. Somebody else is better than you in the family at something, and you're driven to try to beat that person in whatever you pursue.
Yeah, I mean, he's such an awesome dad in that he is, unconditionally just gonna love his kid and support his kid, even though he's being a big old asshole to him and to his family. But he's great, and the fact that he has that moment with his son right as he's walking off stage at the very end, and then he comes back on. Oh, I want to watch that movie again right now. And the last thing I'm going to mention is Kumail Nanjiani in my favorite episode of Portlandia, where he plays a waiter taking them through like a TGI Fridays around the world menu. And he's like, "Do you want to super spike your burger?" And he's like, "What is that?" He's like, "We just pour Jack Daniels all over the burger." And every time Carrie Brownstein makes an order, he's like, "Yeah, good choice, good choice."
That's going to do it for this episode. Keep going to SinCast presented by Cinemasins on Facebook. We're also on Cinemasins Twitter, Music Video Sins Twitter, SoundCloud, and Discord. And we no longer have to give you a link to Discord.
We're bona fide.
That's right.
Boner.
We got the blue star or the blue anus. I don't know.
How did we get that?
I don't know. Probably something that like Aaron did or something, like like how Twitter like gets verified. You have to do all this nonsense where you're like, here's a website, here's the proof of what I do, and it's connected to this somehow. And whatever, and then
they still don't give it to you.
And then they still don't give it to you. Although I don't think we've ever formally done that. It sounds like a bunch of bullshit just to get a blue check mark. Anyway, go to those things. Tell us how you think about the SinCast. That's going to do it for this week. It's Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott and Barrett Sher. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit Cinemasins.com.
I was all by myself.
I was alone.
Nobody was looking.
Yeah, here we go. Wait.
A little too low there.
Went a little too far.
Mhm.
A little too low.
It's the
At
after
least
dark.
you know I have pants on.
It's the After Dark version.
It's the
of
After
SinCast.
Dark. Yes, because the normal SinCast is perfectly family friendly.
Yeah, the normal SinCast is you would put this in between Today's Special and Pinwheel on Nickelodeon.
Today's special.
So you can get loud and clear.
God, I hated that show. I watched it just because, like, anytime I was sick and like home from school, it would be on.
Yeah,
but I kind of hated it.
Yeah, I don't know if I hated it or not, but I watched the fuck out of it.
I remember this one mannequin at one of the Fort Wayne malls. Fort Wayne had two malls, a nice big one and a tiny shitty one. We probably were at the shitty one, but this mannequin was hot. I was maybe 12, but for a brief, for however long my mom was looking at clothes in that JCPenney or whatever the fuck, I had a crush on that mannequin.
Yeah,
you wanted to fuck that mannequin.
I'm thinking, I could do worse. At 12, you don't have a lot of confidence.
You probably had a shot with her.
Probably.
Yeah,
probably.
I should have at least asked for her number. But.
Yeah. Harvey Danger is one of my favorite non-listen to bands. They're not one-hit wonders. I mean, they are in the definition of that. You're right.
Yes.
But their whole catalog is so good, man. Did you ever listen to it?
Which was was it Flagpole Sitta? Is that the one that they did? Yeah, that song's awesome. I dig that song.
No, that whole album.
Especially that lead up to that final verse where all the instruments...
Paranoia.
That was, I remember very vividly saying that was my favorite song of whatever year that was.
97?
That was a good song.
Somewhere around there.
It had to be after that.
Huh?
I didn't move to Nashville until late 98, and that song I know for sure came out when I lived in Nashville. It definitely
ruled the year 98 because it was in that Disturbing Behavior trailer. So I think 98 is probably right.
I went to see him live at 328.
Oh, really? That's
awesome. Another place that doesn't exist anymore.
So good.
Is he one of the Nelsons, as in the Nelsons?
Well, the Nelsons do live in Nashville.
They do indeed.
Oh, really?
Wow. I've met Matthew before.
If I met one of them, I wouldn't know it probably.
After the rain,
I watched one of those Professor of Rock things, and he did a Nelson thing, and I had no idea that they were a part of this big, huge legacy of musical Nelsons that had gone through the years. I had no idea because their dad sang different songs, and their grandfather sang different songs, and he was also on whatever the fuck, Green Acres or some shit. I can't remember what TV show, but like I was like, really, that Nelson?
Hold on. So is it their dad is Ricky Nelson? Right?
Ricky Nelson.
That was my understanding. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then they had was it Ozzie Nelson?
Oh
of Ozzie and Harriet fame.
Yeah.
I said Green Acres, but I meant Ozzie and Harriet. Those two are the exact same show.
I can't live without your love and affection.
Why is that?
I can't spend another night on my own.
Is that a Nelson song?
Oh yeah. I
feel like they only had
Nelson albums growing up.
Jesus, man. Think about all the money you spent on bad music. And look at how happy you are about it.
Hey.
I mean,
both
good
of those
music.
songs that I just sang are rad.
Okay.
I will say this. I had a greater appreciation for that song you were just singing but I still wasn't like about to go out and find more Nelson afterwards. Yeah.
It's like Candlebox, man. Candlebox has always gotten a raw deal. And the guy, Mr. Candlebox, whatever his name is, the lead singer, is always like, man, just because we were in Seattle and we had our own thing doesn't mean that we have to be the posers of this whole movement. But people hate Candlebox, man. Musicians hate Candlebox.
Candlebox was the first band I ever saw live.
Is that right?
They opened for Rush.
Oh, wow.
They opened for Rush, so I saw Candlebox before Rush, and during the time I was fine with Candlebox, but yeah, they were another band that got seriously made fun of.
I didn't mind Candlebox.
Yeah, I thought they were fine. I didn't care about that.
No, you.
Guy had a screamy voice.
Far Behind.
Yeah, man. What I'd like to hug and kiss you.
Yeah, that is better. Everybody can enjoy that.
Give it away.
It's funny hearing Krusty just come out with the words though before that. He's like, I was thinking you could change the song from, what I'd like, what you gotta put it in you to all I'd like to do is hug and kiss you or whatever. And then it gets to Flea and he's like, oh yeah, that is a lot better. Yeah, everybody can enjoy that.
That's one of the best episodes, bar none.
Oh yeah,
no question.
No doubt.
Excuse me.
That's beautiful outtake fodder right there. Yeah.
Apologies, yes.
My favorite thing was that I didn't know where it was coming from because you didn't let on that you knew it was your doorbell.
I was pretending for a minute, but yeah.
Yeah, that was a family reunion, but that would be a good place for an orgy. Don't you think?
I agree.
Good orgy house.
No comment.
Any place is a good place for an orgy if you.
I agree with that statement. I agree with that statement.
Yeah.
The more I think about orgies, the more I don't want to participate.
No.
Seems like a lot of
stuff for me.
A lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Smells. I think there'd be too many smells.
Smells and the sounds, the squishing, the
squelching. Yeah.
God, that's so awful. Oh my God, that.
Yes, cut that out.
You can cut everything after when Jeremy stopped talking, and then we can move on.
God.
I just wanted to
Even
say,
for me, that's bad. That was creepy as fuck.
I bet. I didn't even see it happening. I was looking at you guys. Don't I feel like the fucking asshole?